Alan Zweibel, original Saturday Night Live writer and Thurber Prize winning author of The Other Showman, says The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog is so smart, witty, and inventive that I had to keep reminding myself that I didn't write it.
Choice. Fantasy.
Oh gosh,
Right. The meeting is being recorded by the host. That's
That's
good.
me.
Oh,
So-
we agree on that.
so we can put that on the Bill Boggs channel afterwards.
It's true.
Well, we could start any time. Yay. Oh wait, let me make Beth the host, co-host rather. All right. Beth is now the co-host. Hooray. All right, we'll see how many peeps we get. Hooray, hooray. 13's good. So I was telling Courtney, unlike me, Bill is a man who needs no introduction. I, on the other hand, am a man who needs an introduction. But I was saying, Courtney is in Palm Springs, and to anybody on the East Coast, Bill is a legend in two cities at the very least. It's a tale of two cities. No, but he's from Philadelphia, and you did do TV in Philadelphia and also in North Carolina?
Yeah, well, I started in Philadelphia, then I got my own show in High Point, North Carolina, and that's where the book starts and follows the arc there. And then I went from 3 years in North Carolina. That show was syndicated actually in the South, up to New York for a long run on Channel 5 while I did a lot of other things. Richard Baker and I we're going back after our rights we produced A Night with Lou Reed, the only video recorded concert ever of Lou Reed. And with the advent of this Todd Hayes movie, The Velvet Underground, there's a lot of interest in Lou. So that was one of the things we did while I was still doing Midday. But enough about me, and I actually mean that. Well, not quite. I don't really mean that. Yes, I do sort of mean it.
Well, enough about you, not necessarily about you in terms of personal life, but in terms of your experience of the music and culture in Philadelphia and who you heard and what you saw and what stuck with you. And that's sort of the underlying ideas. And anytime you want me to throw a clip in there, let me know, because I've been clipping all day.
Are we starting?
Yeah, we're starting. It's 7:01.
All right. Well, look, since you're putting me on first, my experience in Philadelphia, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 40s and the 50s in Philadelphia. I grew up in 1941. So without question, South Philadelphia, I grew up in Frankfurt area. The South Philadelphia area was a fertile ground for a lot of talent. I mean, just start with Mary Alonso. Mary Alonso from South Philadelphia, Italian, a colossal star making movies in Philadelphia, really, really made an impact on us recognizing that. And then Al Martino, Buddy Greco, and all through we should not cast aside the importance of Bandstand. Bandstand started as a local little black and white show. Dick Clark took it over. It went national, and there was Bandstand every day after school. Kids were rocking on Bandstand. Philadelphia also is in South Philadelphia, very small homes, row homes, tiny homes, probably with 3 bedrooms and a skylight, for a bath in the bathroom on the second floor. And these homes during the 40s listened to a lot of radio. And my mother used to say, she was from not far away from there, she could walk down the street on like a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock and hear the same radio show coming out the windows as she walked along. She could actually follow the show. And I think that with the Italians, and South Philadelphia is an Italian neighborhood, with the Italians, you have a natural, it seems to me, I know it's a generalization, proclivity toward warmth and music and expression through music. Also in those days, most homes had a piano. I remember my grandmother's little house, had an upright piano there. So if you combine an atmosphere where you had radio programs that were featuring young talent, Bobby Rydell at age 11 won a contest on a show. I was in kindergarten, my mother took me to see a radio show I love. It's a kids radio show called Uncle Whip. And their singing that day was Eddie Fisher wearing a South Philadelphia High School sweater with an S on it. So there were a lot of opportunities for anybody who showed talent. And then as you moved into the 50s and the rock era, with being fed and nurtured by bandstand and great disc jockeys like High Lit and Joe Niagara playing that stuff and seeing that, okay, well, geez, if Bobby Rydell did it, and Fabian did it, and Frankie Avalon did it, and Fabian gets discovered, Charlie Gracie, who predates these people, those rockers from Philadelphia, performed at my fraternity, Alpha to Omega, at the University of Pennsylvania. Then you had the clubs. Downtown in Philadelphia, originally you had Scioli's, Palumbo's, a Latin casino. I remember seeing Al Martino at the old Palumbo's. So there were a lot of places to see music. Steel Pier. I saw Bobby Rydell at Steel Pier. I saw Rick Nelson, not from Philadelphia, at Steel Pier. Plus, we had our own record labels, a lot of record labels. They were looking for hits, and we weren't that far from New York City. But beyond anything else, you have to really be from a middle class, lower middle class family in Philadelphia to really understand the drive that nurtures a lot of Philadelphians. As my father said, Philadelphia is a city where you have to hustle for a living. And he didn't mean hustle and shake people down. He meant really get out there and really go for it, put this job together and that job together and be bold. So that's just a little bit of an overview of Philadelphia, a town rich in music and with a unique, what is it? When we interviewed Bobby Rydell, he said, there's this fountain in South Philadelphia. They say that if you drink from it, you become a great singer. If you wash your feet in it, you become a great dancer. If you take a bath in it, you become a singer, a dancer, and an actor. Something like that.
Do you want to show a clip of Bobby? What did I bring?
Yeah, Bobby Rydell, the closest thing we have around living today to Bobby Darin, in my opinion, whom he met, the youngest performer ever to perform at the Copacabana. Started as a teen idol who could put together a great American songbook swinging song or a ballad, and he could still go back and rock with Wild One, Swinging School, whatever. Yeah, Bobby Rydell, one of my favorite singers working today is Bobby.
So yeah, my standard line about Bobby was, to those of us who are not Philadelphians, the city comes into its own as a sort of in terms of a stylistic destination, really in the second era of rock and roll, which is after the so-called day the music died, after the first era, which is Elvis and Chuck Berry and Little Richard and those kind of original guys. The second era is a lot of the Philadelphia young Italian guys like Bobby Rittarelli, aka Bobby Rydell, Fabian, and Frankie Avalon. And of the three that later got together, put together by Dick Clark as the Golden Boys, Frankie Avalon is kind of in the middle. He's a charming guy, a charming entertainer. You definitely can understand his appeal. On the other hand, there's Fabian, who doesn't seem to have anything going for him other than looks, but that's a lot in those era. And Bobby Rydell is the polar opposite. Bobby Rydell is the one with real chops and the one with real singing ability.
See, Bobby's father took him to the Mastbaum Theater to see Gene Krupa when he was a little boy. We had a lot of venues for music. I'm like, not just nightclubs, venues for music that were easy to get into, were not expensive. The Mastbaum Theater had 3 balconies for the cheapest ticket. You could see a complete show and a movie there. And that was a big influence on a lot of us. So if you look at those South Philadelphia kids who saw the early days of rock and roll, and they thought they can do this too. Practically every, I would say half of my friends at Lincoln High School wanted to be singers and wanted to be rock stars. At least half of them. And none of us ended up doing it, but it became a fantasy. I remember seeing Fabian in about 1957, and Fabian's my age, At that point, he looked a little bit like me. I thought, why can't I do that? My mother even said, you should be doing that. If he does it, you can do it.
You weren't Italian enough. That's it, you know.
I know, not in the least, not in the least.
Although I notice whenever you get together with your friends from Philadelphia, all of a sudden you become much more Italian than you are with your Jewish friends from New York, you know.
I think that's true. There's no question about that. Yeah. So, well, let me throw back a question to you. Why do you think so many Italians, not just Philadelphia, we just saw Perry Como, we had a peek at a couple of peeks at the great Dean Martin. Why do you think so many Italians, men and women, have been so successful, or at least they were in the last century, so successful behind the microphone or playing, singing like Buddy Greco, whom we haven't even mentioned.
Oh, I love Buddy Greco.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I have whenever I've done interviews with Tony Bennett, and I've been present when other people are interviewing him. And one of the questions that he always gets asked is to talk about what people loosely refer to as the Great American Songbook. And
Right.
Tony's stock answer is, yes, what we call the Great American Songbook is really about Black African American musicians and Jewish songwriters. And whenever Tony says this in my presence, I always add in, and don't forget Italian American singers.
Yeah, and how does he react to that? I mean,
Tony, like, well, he is very hesitant to take any credit for himself. He thinks, you know, we're just trying to throw him a bouquet, which of course I am. But no, I mean, but yeah, he says it's, I mean, how do we explain so many great Jewish songwriters? And how do we explain, you know, that, and of course, the African American contribution isn't just musicians, but the next largest group after Jewish songwriters is African American songwriters. Duke Ellington, Fats Waller, James B. Johnson, U.B. Blake.
Right.
You know, there's tons. And the next great group after Italian American crooners is African American. Johnny Hartman, Billy Eckstine, Sammy Davis. You know, we could just list and list and list them. You know, yeah, it's.
well,
If somebody has a good explanation, I mean, of course, there is that huge tradition in, you know, in Italian music, both of, you know, sort of the more formal kinds of singing, opera, and, you know, the Italian art song, but also, you know, the popular tradition is equally, you know, the whole tradition of bel canto and many other things which come from, but that, which isn't to say that, you know, there isn't a great Jewish singing tradition, there isn't a great Irish singing tradition, but somehow the Italian Americans become dominant, you know, it's
well, it is. It's what we're talking about. I think one of the interesting things here is if you look at the neighborhood of South Philadelphia, I mentioned before, it's a really compact area of small, tight row homes. Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell, Fabian, Buddy Greco, Eddie Fisher, Al Martino, from a very small area within Philadelphia, within a couple blocks, like a 4 or 5 minute walk from one house to the next. Avalon, Fabian, and Bobby within 1 block of each other. So I think there's also a, in addition to whatever you know, genetic talent there may or may not be there, there's also a big environmental factor. I mean, as I said, growing up, if you look at the generation you know, brilliantly defined, it's the second wave of rock stars. We all grew up. We're all the same age. I'm, you know, 79, 80, 81. That's how old these guys are now, except for Martino and the late Buddy Greco. But anyway, if you look at the early influence of rock on them, just like rock influenced the Beatles right over in London, and they were so close to each other, even different than living in tenements in New York. There's just something different when you walk down the street and, you know, there's the guy's house right around the corner like that. I've always felt that had something to do with it, the tightness of the neighborhood.
yeah, you know, I guess a similar influences would have, you know, similar results. But you were growing up in Philadelphia, you got to be close to a lot of these guys, particularly Bobby, I know.
Well, I've interviewed all of them. It's really only in the last 18 years that I've gotten so close with Bobby Rydell. And this is just as a personal note. There's something about being from Philadelphia. I mean, Frankie Avalon and I interviewed him twice. We've never done anything except see each other backstage, but the greeting, the intensity. Same with I ran into Sly Stallone in Palm Beach, and I met him. I was with him maybe for one time. I met him at the Academy Awards, and then I knew his brother when I was a substitute teacher, Frank Stallone.
Oh, Frank Stallone, who could sing? Yeah.
But look, here's the thing: as soon as he and I see each other, it's like two guys from Philadelphia connecting. And so there is a certain fraternity. Where did you go to high school? Stallone went to my high school, and then you got kicked out. And I didn't do as well as you did there, Bill. They made me leave, something like that. You're looking pretty good. Meanwhile, he's a massive guy. So yeah, I'm very proud to be from Philadelphia. I always felt when I went to New York, people kind of had this feeling like you really couldn't have a great life unless you were living in New York. But it was a wonderful place to grow up and go. And I went to University of Pennsylvania and so forth. We had a lot of acts pass through fraternity, as I mentioned. Who else do you have in Clipland?
Well, do you want to see? I just picked. It's got to be the first ever clip of Frankie Avalon on the Burl Show. I think they introduced him as being 17 or something like that.
Yeah, well, Frankie played about 7 instruments.
Wow.
Maybe not 6. I don't know. His original stage act, which I didn't see until '66 when I was out in Las Vegas with Pastor and Tarsus, and they were doing the Flip Wilson show, which was shot from Vegas at that time, as was Avalon on the same show, and that's when I met him at. And then we went to see his nightclub act, like at the Riviera. Man, he wasn't just singing Venus; he's playing the trombone, doing all manner of stuff behind it. Talented man, very talented man.
All right, well, why don't we show Frankie Avalon, then a little clip of the Golden Boys.
Fabulous.
Okay, here we go. And action. So this is the Burl Show, 1959, as you will see.
Wow.
I want to tell you, I've admired that man for over 40 years. And now I'd like to introduce a young fellow I've admired for over 40 minutes. Now, I'm kidding, because ever since I heard this young fellow sing, and he's a real singing sensation, I've wanted him to present him to my audience. Ladies and gentlemen, and girls, here is young Frankie Avalon.
Pretty-eyed baby, pretty-eyed baby, pretty-eyed baby. We can have a lot of fun, yes, a lot of fun, 'cause you're the cutest one. You're so sweet, walking on down the street. Oh, pretty-eyed baby, you're the cutest one. I'm so glad you're wise, and I love your eyes. Baby, can you see you were meant for me? Pretty-eyed baby, we can have a lot of fun, yes, a lot of fun, 'cause you're the cutest one. We can have a lot of fun, yes, a lot of fun, 'cause you're the cutest one. Glad you're wise, and I love those eyes. Baby, can you see you were meant for me? Pretty-eyed baby, we can have a lot of fun, yes, a lot of fun, 'cause you're the cutest one. Hey, pretty-eyed baby, yeah, sorry-eyed baby, you're the cutest one. You're the cutest one.
always terrific. Really, I want to tell you, Ben, once more, thanks. Oh, shut up. I'm only kidding because I want to. How do you like this boy? How old are you? 18? 18. This 18. He thinks. That's all he is. He thinks Sal Mineo is the grand old man of show business. No wonder your record. I got your album, the Chancellor album. No wonder your record is selling terrific. Really terrific, kid.
Thank you, Mr. Burrell.
I don't mean.
And now, would you do me a favor?
Sure. I'll do anything.
My mother asked me to please be sure
Yeah.
and get the address from Kraft
Yeah.
for those dish towels.
This boy's gone far. Oh, Ed Hurley, please come in and tell Mrs. Avalon about the towels. Just the way I told you to say it. Take it, Ed. Take it, please. Take it.
Well, our performers tonight may not be teenagers anymore, but they still look pretty terrific to their enthusiastic fans who can't wait for the rock and nostalgia to begin. So here they are, brought together by Dick Fox. It's the Golden Boys of Bandstand, on stage at Wolftrap.
We're going hopping today, things are popping. The Philadelphia way, we're going dropping. And all the music they play on the bandstand. We're going swinging the crowd, we'll be clinging. We'll high in the cloud, the moves are ringing. My mom and dad are so proud, we're on bandstand. And I'm jumping, hey, I may even show my handstand. Because we're on the American bandstand. Sing it, buddy! When I dance real slow, I'll show all the guys in the grandstand. What swingers we are on American Bandstand. And I'm jumping, hey, I may even show my handstand. Because we're on the American Bandstand. When I dance real slow, I'll show all the guys in the grandstand. What swingers we are on American Bandstand. We're going hopping today, the things are popping. The Philadelphia way, we're going to drop it on all the music they play on the bandstand. We're going swinging the crowd, we're going singing. Move high in the cloud, the phones are ringing. My mom and dad are so proud, we're on bandstand. We're on bandstand. We're on bandstand. On American Bandstand. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Nice to be here. Hold it, guys. There are three of us up here. Someone's got to go first.
Makes sense.
I've got an idea. So does she. I've always gone by my first name. I think I should go first.
That stinks.
I don't like that.
That stinks. What do you mean? You should
I've got my own idea. I'll tell you what I think.
Well, let's listen to Frank. He's the oldest.
You've got a point there.
Maybe a day. I'll tell you what. We should go protocol show business. Alphabetical order. My name starts with an A. I think I ought to go first.
I say, ladies and gentlemen, first name should go first.
But, well, first of all, what are we arguing about? What are we arguing about, right? Huh? We're here to have a good time. To reminisce. Correct? And basically what?
Sing.
Every sha-la-la-la, every whoa still shines. Every shing-a-ling-a-ling that we're starting to sing so fine. All my best memories come back clearly to me. They can even make you cry, just like before. It's yesterday once more.
You know, first, I love those clips. the Avalon was moving beautifully. You know, yeah, I've always felt the best moving singer I've ever seen live was Bobby Darin. I was very impressed as an 18-year-old moving on that song. What kind of a song was that? Pretty Eyed Baby. I'd never heard that before.
Ha!
Was that a pop?
It's an old R&B number, and somebody might know better. One of my attendees might know better than I, but I believe it was originally Satchel Mouth Baby, which was Mary Lou Williams.
Ah.
Mary Lou Williams was born in South Carolina, but grew up and spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh, so she's a Pennsylvanian, and became famous in Kansas City. But yeah, I believe Pretty Eyed Baby is Satchel Mouth Baby, which it was done in the 40s. They call it Reverend Phil, who's the R&B historian. He can correct me on all this, but Satchel Mouth Baby. Anyhow, Nat Cole did it as Satchel Mouth Baby in the 40s.
Interesting choice of rhythm and blues, moving great. And then the clip from the Golden Boys. I've seen the Golden Boys show 3 times over the last, I think, 7 years. It's really entertaining, and they start out. They do that. Start out like that. Fabian essentially opens the show, and without being sarcastic, actually, Fabian is better than ever. Now, he obviously there was a lot of room to go. And then Bobby comes out and does a solid like 50 minutes, and then there's intermission. And Frankie Avalon does about an hour and 10, and there's movie clips of some of his movies. Then they all come back for a terrific medley. And believe it or not, and this is Avalon's idea, they do a twist thing. You know, we haven't even mentioned Chubby Checker.
Oh, we've got a good cup of Chubby.
Yeah, I love Chubby Checker. And they do a twist thing with people from the audience get up and twist, and they end by singing, believe it or not, the Mickey Mouse Club theme song. And God bless them, somehow it works. They're going to be down in Palm Beach, I think early April. I'm going to go see them down there. I got it all set for that. Who else you have in your?
Well, I thought my buddy Courtney from Palm Springs was very close to Buddy Greco, and he's still close to his incredible wife, Leslie, who is a great lady and a wonderful entertainer too. So I thought I'd show a vintage clip of Buddy Greco on the Andy Williams show. But you obviously knew Buddy personally, right?
Yeah, yes, I interviewed Buddy a couple of times, and he would play a club in New York, like Marty's. I don't think it was Marty's, but he had a couple of gigs while I was really living in New York and getting out a lot to see shows, and I saw him there. You know, he was a fiery piano player.
Yeah, he's a fantastic musician.
Piano chops. And as we mentioned when we did our last show, which I've gotten a lot of viewers on YouTube for that show, the Bobby Short show, that to be able to sing that well and play that well, it really puts you in a class by yourself. We shouldn't overlook, when you think of Buddy Greco, he didn't have a lot of big hits. A tremendous, as I would say, in the most flattering sense, a tremendous lounge performer, a tremendous performer in small to medium-sized rooms.
Right,
Just like I'd say the same thing about Steve Tyrell. Tremendous in a small to medium-sized room. Doesn't command the big room. Buddy Greco didn't play a lot of big rooms, but a unique talent to himself. Our friend Stephen Sarkoff thinks he's one of the best ever.
Oh, Buddy, he played a club called Archie's. I saw him at Birdland. I saw him in fact, once, I know this is very name droppy. The first time I met Steve Tyrell personally, he was sitting next to me at Birdland, and we were both there to hear Buddy Greco.
That's where I saw him. That's where I saw him at Birdland.
And he played the Iridium. And the thing about Buddy was that he grew up very, very much enamored of Nat King Cole, and he did a lot of Nat King Cole songs. And yet, because he also came from the Italian crooner tradition, he had a lot of Sinatra and Dean Martin in him. So in a way, he's kind of bringing both things together,
Also, Buddy Greco, one of those performers who was really respected by other performers. There were varying degrees of admiration from one to the next, but I've really never heard anybody not say that Buddy Greco was really superb at what he did.
Well, he was also the funniest guy. I mean, he had such a great comic timing,
Yeah.
And such a great sense of the ridiculous, you might say.
Well, let's take a look.
Yay! Here we go. Or as I call him, the ombudsman. Here we go. Buddy, this is a nice clip of Buddy on the Andy Williams Show, 1966.
God bless the Andy Williams Show.
I know, my God.
Had on that program. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Buddy Greco.
Holly jing jing a ling of bubbles, bangles, bright shiny beads, sparkle, spangle. My heart would sing sing a ling o, wearing baubles, bangles and beads. I glitter and gleam so. Make somebody dream, so that someday she may buy me a ring, ring-a-ling-a. I've heard that's where it leads. If you wearing bubbles, bangles and beads, play you like Count Basie. Bangles, hear how they jing-a-ling-a-ling the bubbles. Bangles, how those cool beads sparkle, spangle. My heart would sing, sing-a-ling-o, wearing baubles, bangles and beads. Somebody dream, so that someday she may buy me a ring, ring-a-ling-a. I've heard that's where it leads. If you wearing bubbles, bangles and beads, yeah. Say it again! And beads.
One more time.
Bubbles, bangles, and booze. Beads.
Thank you. You know, I can't tell you, I really appreciate your being on the show.
Thank you.
And I say that because, well, for a couple of reasons. One is that Buddy is doubling in Las Vegas while he's doing this show here. So he's been traveling back and forth. You know, you really have put in a lot of flying hours.
Yes, I have.
This week.
Yes, I have. You know, this is the first time that I've been able to sit down without a seatbelt, and it's really tiring.
And it's expensive, too.
No, not really. I take the economy flight.
Oh, that's right. Economy flights are fine. Of course, they don't show movies, but the pilot walks up and down the aisle and shows pictures of his kids. You know, Buddy, that album that you made over in England, where you just play the piano, I love it. You don't sing at all. I think it's great. I really love that album, where you don't sing. Yeah.
Well, thank you. You know, I love to play piano. I actually started out as a piano player.
Did you really?
I did. In fact, this is a true story. When I was a kid, we couldn't afford a piano, so my father cut out a keyboard from a magazine, and he pasted it on a kitchen table, and I practiced on that thing for 2 years.
Really? And then he finally bought you a piano, huh?
Yeah, he had to. I couldn't see the table anymore. We had spaghetti sauce and raviolis and a whole bunch of things.
Why don't we do a song together?
All right, fine.
You ready?
Okay.
Jack? Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay,
A wonderful feeling, a wonderful day.
plenty of sunshine
Ahead my way,
a zippity-doo-dah,
a zippity, oh, Mr. Blue,
oh, Mr. Bluebird
on my shoulder.
It's the truth, it's factual. Everything is gonna be satisfaction.
zippity-doo-dah, zippity, a wonderful feeling, a wonderful day, a zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo, zippity-doo, zippity, zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo-dah, a zippity-doo, zippity-doo, zippity, zippity-doo-dah. Oh, Mr. Bluebird, on my shoulder. It's the truth. It's the truth. It's actual. It's actual. Everything is gonna be satisfaction. Zippity-doo-doo-dah, zippity-yay. A wonderful feeling, a wonderful day, yeah, yeah, yeah. A wonderful feeling, a wonderful, one more time now. A wonderful feeling, zippity-doo, 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 zippity-doo. Wonderful, wonderful day.
Well, 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 we've got a show to sell. If you put a little tip, tip, tippy in the kitty, hey, that would be real swell.
Ka-ching. Let me bring it back to Bill. You there? Yeah, you're there. Oh, you unmuted? Yeah, you should. Oh, you don't have your mic. Bill, do you not have your mic? Can you try to speak? Bill is without a mic. All right. I'll wait till he can re-mic himself. I hope he can hear me. Well, I was going to say, I hope he can hear me. Carrie Hoffman, who's a dear friend and an expert on singers, we jointly evolved the theory that Buddy Greco was the original more than Sinatra or Dean Martin or anybody or Como. He was the major template for Bobby Darin. And the similarity being that early on, Buddy Greco, because he didn't have the same kind of vocal resources as Sinatra, was kind of forced to just, to evolve a sound where, that was mainly based on cutting off notes in a really hip way. And because Bobby Darin also didn't have a huge voice and huge vocal resources, that would be an obvious place for him to start. So, and also those extra musical noises, those special effects, as I call it, like hop, hop, ho, ho, those sort of like scat-like sounds, that is something that, Buddy Greco totally came up with on his own. And that is certainly something that he totally passed on to Bobby Darin. So I will pick something else while Bill is connecting. I'll pick another clip. What do I want to show? How about, we haven't had any great girl singers yet, so I think we should. And we haven't had any non-Italian. Actually, most of the major female singers from Italian are African-American, according to the list that I was going over. But I know. Let's see. We've got all kinds of great people. Let's have some Ethel Waters, some Pearl Bailey, like that. How would that be? Here is, in fact, we'll show some Ethel Waters, and this is courtesy Mark Cantor, and it's a wonderful piece of film. This is, Bill is saying he can't hear. Yeah, Beth, see if you could advise Bill. He should go out and come back again. I hope he can hear. All right, we'll put on another clip. I'll put on some stuff until Bill is able to join us. But I'm so glad that he was able to join us at all. Is he back?
Yeah, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, my computer shut off. So I came back, whatever reason, the audio wasn't working. So I love the Greco clip. And I only have one thought I wanted to say. It's been a while.
Please.
Initial Greco, Bubbles, Bangles, and Beads, was brilliant classic TV direction. One camera, close up, that he turn to the side, and 1/3 or full shot. These days, a singer singing the same song would be shot wide back, all kind of angles, back of the house, side. But the way that was shot, that you saw the same intimacy, always on the Dean Martin show, Sinatra show, really brought you in with the singer. I miss that a lot of times just because of what I call over direction.
You know that it's not directly related to Philadelphia, but Fred Astaire always insisted that he be shot with nothing. He didn't want the angles and the directorial and the camera position to overwhelm the dancing. So he always, he practically directed himself. He certainly choreographed himself, but he practically directed himself and always set up each dance so that he would be shot just in the straight ahead way, so you could see the whole body, and you could. And on one hand, it also told the audience that there wasn't any camera trickery; that it really was him dancing and doing all those moves in toto.
The 7 music shows that Richard Baker and I produced, we took care to do that, because I figure if you're watching the show, watching the singer, watching the guitarist, that's what you want to watch. You don't need to suddenly go from the guitarist to the back of the auditorium and see the audience in front of you and then come back. But that's just one of my directorial. I just wanted to mention that point, and I'm really sorry to hold you up. I have no idea.
Oh no! I mean, now so many of these music videos have so many intercuts that you think it's Sergei Eisenstein or something.
So where are we headed? Where are we headed now? Yep.
I thought we'd show some of the great female singers from Philadelphia, like Ethel Waters, Pearl Bailey, and some of those gals. How does that suit you? All right. Here's the first ever TV appearance of Ethel Waters from Toast to the Town, 1949, courtesy our good buddy Mark Cantor. And this is her big number on Broadway, Happiness is Just a Thing Called Joe, from Cabin in the Sky.
It seems like happiness is just a thing called Joe. With his smile that makes the night like wanna grow, and his way that makes the angels heave a sigh when they know my little Joe is passing by. Sometimes the cabin's gloomy and the table's bare, but when he kisses me, Lord, it's Christmas everywhere. Troubles fly away and life is easy go, but does he love me good? That's all I want to know, because my happiness is just a thing called Joe. Little Joe, little Joe, little Joe.
This is going to be Pearl Bailey, the first ever clip of Pearl Bailey. Oh, wait a minute. No. Oh, yeah, Bob Hope does introduce her. Bob Hope had a long relationship with Pearl Bailey over many shows going into the TV era. But this is from the picture Variety Girl, a number called Tired that actually comes from her nightclub act, I believe. So this is Pearl, 1947. What would she be? Oh, she'd be like 29 here.
Stage fright is a terrible thing. With me, the audience.